All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Dave, me, and Nick here will be breaking down Week 0. Nice little 11-game slate to get college football back and going. Nick, it was great to have college football on the screen yesterday, but there was a lot of disappointing efforts from some teams, most notably the one that kicked things off in Dublin. Nebraska and Northwestern. The Cornhuskers were double-figure favorites in this one. Ended up losing by 3. This was a very strange game for Nebraska. This is another one they're going to want to have back. It's the theme in the Scott Frost era. First drive, under Mark Whipple goes 75 yards, 8 plays. Casey Thompson looked great. I thought in the first half, pass protection from that offensive line was pretty superb. I thought in the trenches they looked pretty solid in that first half overall. In the second half, that was a different story. But just focusing on this first half, the first 2 drives from Nebraska, it was really the first 2 out of 3. They scored 80. It was an 80-yard drive after the 75 yards. There was a punt in between there where they were backed up, so they didn't do much there. This offense was rolling early. Casey Thompson looked great. The running game was turning out just enough positive yards to keep, stay ahead of the sticks. But then after that, it really fell apart. Just focusing on this first half, what went wrong here for Nebraska, because they looked really good, and then they turned around on defense, gave up a long passing touchdown because of a coverage bust, and then they fumbled after that. There was a lot of opportunities for momentum to stay strong in this game. Nebraska does not take advantage of it despite having numerous opportunities.
Right, Nebraska goes out to Ireland. I thought this was a good draw for them against Northwestern in Week 0. I liked the line. It was 11 points last I saw it, and they just absolutely flat out disappointed yesterday. I thought Casey Thompson looked really good. He felt comfortable in that first half. That first drive was really impressive for me, the way he kind of stood in the pocket there, had a lot of protection. He felt comfortable. I liked the way he looked there, and a couple plays he made. Got out of the pocket, scrambled a little bit, got back into the pocket, and absolutely launched it downfield. So Thompson had a good day. I liked what he did in the first half, especially. He finished 25 of 42 for 355 and a touchdown plus 2 interceptions. I just think the defense really let this team down. They couldn't make a tackle, it seemed. Northwestern kept getting by for big plays. They kept breaking tackles, missing tackles in the open field, bad coverage, busted coverage all over the field. And Helinski really just had a field day with that. He had a great day. Good numbers from him.
Helinski was very efficient. I do feel like the offense left a lot of points on the table. But like you said, the defense was just flat out awful. These guys, mainly at linebacker and in the secondary, the defensive line as well in the second half, they were disappointing as well. I said I wouldn't be shocked if Northwestern wins this game. I said if they force 3 turnovers, run for 250 yards, they will. They were just shy of that 250 mark. They did force 3 turnovers. The defensive line, I expected big things out of them, and they just flat out disappointed as well. I thought they were a little bit better in the first half, but in the second half, not so much. They were just getting dominated, blown off the ball. And that doesn't help when your linebackers and secondary were just awful, especially across the middle. That play-action pass in the first half was really working for them. And Northwestern wasn't even churning it out on the ground just yet. I thought Nick Henrich was just absolutely poor. One of their top linebackers there, one of their leaders on defense, was not very good one bit. Missed tackles, poor in coverage. Just a lot of play-action across the middle that was really just eating them up. And that's why Helinski was so efficient. And downfield, he was making plays too. Not as much as across the middle of the field, because everything underneath just seemed open for them, but they did have a handful of big plays downfield. Nebraska trailed at the half when they really shouldn't have. The offense stalled out, though. After that fumble, they're up 14-10, and they fumbled while driving downfield. And that was kind of the turning point, because after that, the offense could not really find their groove. But to start off the second half, they had an 88-yard drive after forcing a punt from Northwestern, and then they forced a fumble after that. Momentum was building in Nebraska's favor. They took a 28-17 lead after a big run from Anthony Grant. He had 100-plus yards, 2 scores, 46 yards on that one to put him up 2 scores. And then that was it. After that, Scott Frost calls a onside kick while up 11. I didn't think it was a good move to begin with when I saw it happen, because your defense just allowed a 20-yard run when they forced that fumble. A great individual effort from Buford gave them the ball, but your defense was still getting shredded, and even on that play they got beat up. So I don't know what in Scott Frost's mind made him call an onside kick when it clearly was not a good decision, because they ended up giving a touchdown on that short field, which was inevitable. And then we didn't see Nebraska find any points the rest of the game. The offense was flat after that. Energy completely gone. The defense was not there. They were still leading that game, though, Nick. So that onside kick, though, changed everything for Nebraska, and that's what really caused them to lose this game.
I can't believe the onside kick decision. It just makes zero sense to me. The commentary team for the game on Fox yesterday absolutely was floored at the decision, and I was too, watching it live. I just don't understand what you're thinking up 11 in the third quarter. At that point, just kick it deep, put them deep, stall Northwestern out, force a punt, and you can find yourself controlling, since you're going to potentially score and make a 3-possession game. I really just don't know what Scott Frost was thinking. this is a terrible decision and really highlights, a bunch of bad decisions that Nebraska has made over the last couple seasons in these close games. They play a lot of games close. I do have to give them credit. They're always fighting in games. They're in there late in the game, but they just seem to lack that decision-making at crucial moments. And this is one of those decisions that just absolutely blows my mind. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And his comments after the game about it as well were just also, I thought, were just irresponsible and just stupid to say, saying like, oh, if I could go back, I would have changed it. Yeah, in hindsight, you would have changed that. I don't know why he made the call. I don't understand the call at all, and it clearly killed the momentum and killed the game for Nebraska.
Yeah, Kirk Herbstreit before the game picked this team to win the West, which, still a long way to go, and I was very impressed with the offensive system. They were rolling out, kind of a blend of Mark Whipple and Scott Frost. I think those offenses here is going to be really fun to watch, and if they can, obviously be more consistent, because in the fourth quarter, they're just nowhere to be found. But the third quarter, they scored 14 points. That was more than they had any other quarter in this game. So obviously, it just fell flat on their face after that. But I think there's a lot to look forward to for both teams. Northwestern, obviously, a very impressive effort, 500-plus yards in this game. The offensive line was blowing guys off the ball. It was a really good defensive line as well. So that's very encouraging. That duo of Porter and Hull did what I thought they wouldn't do. So credit to them. I knew where the matchup was, and they certainly took advantage of it. Good win for Northwestern. 1-0 to start the season. Nebraska going to be an interesting team to watch this year because it wasn't all bad, even though, I think really just your head coach kind of made a bad decision, but that's not all because the defense was awful. They were not very good one bit. So some things to work on. Potential certainly there for this team, though, but obviously fans here in Lincoln are not very happy one bit. Moving to another team that kind of struggled, UConn. They were, 4 touchdown favorites, or 4 touchdown dogs, rather, the Utah State. They lose this one 31-20. The one thing I did say about this game is that I wouldn't be shocked if UConn runs the ball well because Utah State last year could not stop the run one bit. They get into the backfield a good bit. They're very good at doing that, but they did lose a lot on their front seven. But they were even worse against the run. UConn had 245 yards rushing. Nathan Carter ran for 190. 14 points in that first quarter for UConn. They had 6 points in the fourth quarter. That's the only other time they scored, but their defense really hung in there. Allowed 24 to Utah State in that second quarter, but they didn't score in the first or the third quarter. They did find the end zone once in the fourth. The offense, I thought they were good. They had some nice balance. Calvin Tyler, 161 rushing, 281 and 3 touchdowns for Logan Bonner. Brian Cobbs emerged as a top pass catcher. Him and Justin McGriff will be a good duo this year in the Mountain West. 542 yards for this offense. They did turn it over twice. The defense outside of, getting burned up on the ground, thought they were overall pretty solid because after the first quarter, they really turned things up. Turner, a freshman quarterback, got pressed into action, so they weren't able to do much through the air, but kind of another disappointing effort, Nick. Seems like when you look at the stat sheet, they should have won this game by a lot more. But UConn, I think it was very impressive, the energy they came out there and played with. Jim Mora looking to turn things around here. And I think they have a nice starting point in Nathan Carter. And then Taquan Roberson, I'm not sure what the stats will be on him, but he's got some speed to him. So I think this running game for UConn will be a bright spot for them this fall. What are your thoughts on this game? An 11-win team from a season ago struggling here in the opener.
I think this says a lot about UConn. I love the energy they put out yesterday. This team was up for it. They played hard. They played physical. Up 14 at the end of the first quarter. Interesting score there. A lot of people were shocked by that. Utah State had a strong second quarter. 24 points in that second quarter really kind of changed the game for them to swing the momentum. But then they stalled out in the third quarter again, and it really was a lot closer than it probably should have been for this. The line was 26.5. Last I saw, Utah State struggles to get anywhere near covering that. I do think this says more about UConn than it does about Utah State. I think Utah State will be just fine in the long run. Yes, they have to play Alabama next week. That's certainly not going to be easy for them. But top to bottom, I think their schedule's not too strong. They should be all right in their conference. I think this says a lot about UConn. This is an independent. This is a team that no one really gives any credit to. This is a team that a lot of people expect to get blown out every single week. They come out here, hang in there, only lose by 11. Looks good on offense. Zion Turner had a decent day. Nathan Carter as well on the ground, almost 200 yards rushing from him. I really was impressed by him. Solid carries from him. This game tells me a lot about UConn. I think the program of Jim Mora can start to head in the right direction. Hopefully they put together some results like this. They're not going to win every game, obviously, but if they lose games close, they put the fight in and don't get blown out, I think that says a lot for this UConn program.
Looking at Illinois and Wyoming, this is another game I didn't really expect to be close. I finally got one of the spreads right on this one. Illinois wins at 38-6 over the Cowboys. Just they lose too much. That was the biggest thing for me. Andrew Peasley, 5 of 20 passing the ball. He got picked, 30 yards. That's not very good one bit. But it was kind of expected because they lost a lot up front on the O-line. They were playing a pretty respectable front seven as well. And then, I thought Titus Swain would get a lot of touches. And, he had 17 carries for 98 yards. So 182 on the ground with Peasley. He's a fast runner. So they still had 6 yards per carry, 182 yards. But overall, this offense was pretty stagnant, evident with only 6 points. Illinois, though, Josh McCray wasn't involved as much as I thought he would be, but it was the Chase Brown show. 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, and only 19 touches. He also scored once through the air as well, 16 yards and touchdown receiving. I was very excited to see what Tommy DeVito would do in his debut. 5.2 yards per attempt. It's a respectable number. 194 passing, 2 touchdowns, 27 of 37. Seemed to be a really good game manager here. We'll see how much they open the offense up as the season goes on and they enter conference play. But overall, this is a very sound effort from Brett Bielema's squad because over the years we've seen them really struggle in games against opponents like this. So I was very excited to see what this team would do, and they covered with ease. The defense was very sound. Jatavis Martin had 3 pass defenders. So I thought overall I was very impressed with this offense, this defense. The opponent obviously isn't the strongest of competition. We'll see how they do. But I'm very excited for Illinois this season. I think they could definitely make a bowl game, maybe upset a team or two.
I'm equally impressed with Illinois, just like you. I think they did a lot more than I thought they would. I thought this would be a closer game. I do like Wyoming's defense. Some of the guys in their defense, especially like linebacker Easton Gibbs, he had a good day yesterday, 9 total tackles. I thought maybe this defense would make it a little bit closer for Wyoming, but their offense just really struggled and absolutely, took them out of the game. Preasley was 5 of 20 passing for 30 yards plus an interception. Brutal day for him. I know he had some good ground game, but just an awful day for the offense top to bottom. Tommy DeVito looked comfortable. I liked what he did yesterday. I thought he had solid numbers, 27 of 37 for 194 plus 2 touchdowns. I think this Illinois team has a good roster. I like what they have on the rushing attack as well. Chase Brown, dominant day on the ground. The defense looked okay yesterday as well. Solid on the defense. I get a little concerned. I don't know who's going to be receiving the ball a lot for this team. They seem to spread the wealth out. Isaiah Williams led the team in receptions with 7 yesterday, but only for 26 yards. I like this Illinois team. I think they have some serious potential. It's not the greatest Wyoming team, but I was a little impressed with the way that Illinois was able to step on the gas and put a ton of points on the board.
Craig Bowl always has a tough ball squad, so like you said, very impressive performance there. Looking at North Carolina and Florida A&M, 56 points for the Tar Heels, but they allowed 24 to an FCS school here. 29 minutes of possession for FAMU. They didn't do much on the ground one bit, but through the air, Mosa, this guy had 279 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. This team was 7 for 15 on 3rd and 4th downs. They were just able to stay on the field, and it's kind of concerning. I know it's just the first game, and there's going to be a lot of takeaways here. I know Tony Grimes got hurt early on in this contest. Gene Chizik has some high expectations to really fix this unit, kind of like he did a couple years back. But this was not a great starting performance. Obviously they won by a lot of points. They scored 21 in the 4th quarter. Drake May looked great. I know there was a 4th down right before the half. They trusted him with the ball, and he found the end zone through the air. He had 294 yards and 5 touchdowns. Josh Downs had 2 of those touchdowns, 78 yards through the air for him. Omari Hampton, that is, 101 yards, 2 scores on the ground. 600-plus yards of offense for North Carolina. Not much has changed there, and I think this will be a very impressive group for them. They're going to be in the backbone of this football team, though, because the defense, we're not really sure what to expect from them. And this wasn't a great start. Obviously, they only had 335 yards. They did force 2 turnovers, but they did give up 20 first downs to this team, and they were hanging in there in the first half. I believe this was a 1-score game for most of that first half. So kind of concerned with the defense. We'll see what happens. I mean, this is supposed to be a tune-up, though, before you play Appalachian State. Kind of concerned, though. So I want to see long-term this season what Gene Chizik can do, but for the first game of the year against this opponent, not very impressive.
If I'm a UNC fan, I definitely would be worried about the performance. This Florida A&M team was missing over 20 players due to ineligible scholarships. They were lacking a ton of pieces on the offensive line. They were missing players top to bottom. This should have been a blowout. The line was 42.5 yesterday, and North Carolina didn't cover that. Yes, they pulled away late and 21 points in the 4th quarter, but this was a close game for the first 3 quarters. The defense is the story here for me. They really disappointed top to bottom. I don't know how you're going to let an FCS school, throw for that as many yards they did, stay on the field as long as they did. I would certainly be concerned with this defense. I know there's some time turning around, and they have Appalachian State next week, but Gene Chizik needs to start doing something in practice to get this team working on defense, because they really just did not show me anything yesterday. That's just something I wanted to watch. We highlighted this during our previews. How would the defense look against a team like this, FCS opponent? Because Florida State played an FCS opponent, absolutely blew them out. Their defense looked strong in that game. So I definitely am a little concerned for UNC on the defensive side of the ball. Offensive side of the ball, though, Drake May absolutely blew away my expectations. He was named the starter. Some people said maybe he shouldn't have been the starter. Maybe they could have gone somewhere else, but they took May. They had him as a starter. 29 of 37, 294, plus 5 touchdowns through the air. I was blown away by the performance. I was really impressed by it. I think he's a solid quarterback. Completed his pass as well. I think the offense will be great for UNC this year. It's just whether or not the defense can turn around and keep up with this offense. Otherwise, UNC will find themselves in it for a rough year.
Yeah, I was rooting for Criswell to be the starter. I was excited for him, but I also felt like Drake May would also play a very crucial role in this offense if he was named the starter. So I was also excited for him after learning he got named the job. Good call on watching the defense, though, because I wasn't concerned about it. I was like, it's going to be a cakewalk, but they were giving up long touchdown drives, 2 75-yarders in that first half. I mean, that's no fluke one bit, regardless of opponent, So it's obviously not great. We'll see what happens. Take on App State next week. Moving to the nightcap, Vanderbilt, Hawaii. Nick, I told you this would not be a close game one bit. I picked Vandy 31-10. Hawaii only scored 10 points, so I got that right. But Vanderbilt scored double the points that I thought they would. I don't care who you're playing, considering last year they scored 3 points against East Tennessee State, an FCS school, and they turn around season opener here, hang 63 on the Rainbow Warriors on the road. Very impressive effort. Vanderbilt, they started down 7-0. Parson had a great touchdown run. But after that was about it for the Hawaii offense. They couldn't find much at all. These guys started to take over. The more talented bunch started having their way with Hawaii. And the offense, Mike Wright, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, 163, and 2 scores on the ground, headlined by an 87-yarder. Man, this guy is full of speed. This is a deep backfield. Ray Davis, Rocco Griffin. I don't know what the rest of the season has in store for Vanderbilt, but this is a very encouraging start to the year. They hung 35 points up in that third quarter in what was still a pretty competitive game at the half. It was a very close score, 21-10 at the half, and they scored that many in the third quarter to put this one away. Very impressive effort by Vanderbilt, all facets of the game. I didn't think their passing attack was efficient. It wasn't that strong, though, but they really ate it up on the ground. 404 yards rushing, 5 scores. And on defense, after a tough first drive, they really settled in. And overall, this was a very impressive effort from Clark Leah's squad. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I'll be the first one to raise my hand.
I was wrong. I thought Hawaii would have a chance to hang in this game. I didn't know if they'd win, but I thought they would cover the spread. At home, Vanderbilt traveling out there, late night game. It's a tough thing when you look at it on paper, but Vanderbilt absolutely blew away my expectations. It blew away a lot of people's expectations. This is their biggest win, most decisive win since World War II. Probably when they beat Auburn 47-0 in 1948 against a big program. This team doesn't put up points against the bigger FBS programs. I know Hawaii's not a powerhouse, but still FBS. Like you said, they put 3 points up against East Tennessee State last year. So I don't think a lot of people expected Vanderbilt to come out and put 63 points on the board. Ridiculous number. Mike White looked. Jeez, not Mike White. Mike Wright looked good. He looked composed. I liked what he did on the ground. 163 yards, 12.5 yards per carry, plus 2 touchdowns for him, an 87-yard carry as well for his long for the night. This Vanderbilt team looked good on offense. I don't think we expected them to look good on offense at all. I thought this would be more of a defensive battle, but they really showed me a lot to see yesterday. I was really impressed with them late night last night. They put up a lot of points. I don't know how they're going to do the rest of the season because, they're not playing Hawaii every week. They're playing some serious competition, but this Vanderbilt team could definitely be proud of this win and take away a good victory on a Saturday night.
Good way to put it. Very exciting for them and encouraging. They also forced 4 fumbles. I thought Maxwell Worship from this safety spot really emerged as a leader in this one because I think one thing they brought up on the broadcast is, because last year they were so defeated. They were down early in this game, and usually this team just folds after that. But he said, Clark Lee, one thing they alluded to is that we were trying to get out of that. We were trying to establish a new culture, and they certainly did. They did not feel defeated one bit when they got down in this game. They fought back and did it very impressively. Vanderbilt a 53-point win on the road. Week 0 overall, Nick, pretty sound. Some other games, Austin PA hung with Western Kentucky for 4 quarters, 38-27 is the final there. That offense, did not look the same. It was not as efficient or as effective. Of course, you expected a fall off, but that was kind of an iffy effort from Tyson Helton's football team. Doug Brumfeld, 4 touchdowns, 356 yards through the air for UNLV. They blew out Idaho State. Ricky White, 182 through the air, the Michigan State transfer, showcasing that speed there in Las Vegas. Florida State, 47-7 over an FCS squad here. Jordan Travis, 207 through the air. They ran for 400-plus yards. Treshaun Ward was one of 3 backs that had 100-plus yards on the ground. What are your thoughts on Florida State's effort?
Right, Treshaun Ward's a guy I highlighted in the preseason. I was very high on him. I think he has some serious potential. He looked good last night. I know they're playing Duquesne, who's not a great FCS program. Treshaun Ward had a good night, 127 yards in the ground, 9.1 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns for him. Thought this offense looked good. They were firing on all cylinders early, 20 points in the first quarter. They looked like they were comfortable, looked composed. Defense looked good too. I worried a little bit about the defense. They replaced some talent coming to the draft. Would guys be able to step up? They spread the wealth. A lot of guys, 3-4 tackles. They split the tackles very well. I think Florida State look all right. They got a big test next week against LSU. It's interesting to see if they can keep up with the Tigers, that one in Baton Rouge. But if I'm a Florida State fan, I feel pretty good about what happened last night, considering UNC struggled with another FCS program. I'd be feeling pretty good in Tallahassee right now.
And then Charlotte, they scored the opening touchdown against FAU in Boca Raton. They ended up losing 43-13. It was all Owls after that. Willie Taggart's squad. Big time win for them here. Kick off the season. New Mexico State falls to Nevada 23-12. Interesting score there. And then the under cash for me in the North Texas UTEP game, even though UTEP, I picked them to win, and they lost 31-13 in that one. So that's going to be it for today's episode, guys. Pretty interesting week 0, Nick. Glad to have college football back, even if it is some of these rubbish games. was very excited to have football on the TV. Enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah, it was a fantastic, thing to watch on a Saturday. A lot of games all day. I really liked the lineup. It wasn't the best, a lot of best games, but some teams we don't really normally get to watch. We don't really get to catch our attention because of the big games played on a normal Saturday. Got some focus from us. Vanderbilt, North Carolina, Florida State, teams we wouldn't normally focus on. Got some good eyes on them on big TV televised games. And then we transition to Thursday. We have some important games on Thursday night.
Yep, that's going to be it for today's episode, guys. College football is back. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment. See you next time.